Hello and welcome to this video. This is an Excel skills review. Uh, Excel is the most used tool in industry for storing and working with data. And you're probably familiar with Excel, but this first hands-on activity will give you a little more practice, and it never hurts to go back and review some basics with Excel. So I'm recording this video. I'm going to come down to the bottom right and zoom in a little bit here so that the cells are larger. When we talk about Excel, the basics of Excel is that we have columns and rows that intersect in a cell, and the contents of a cell can be data, like 30 and 10. It can be labels that describe the data. So what are we talking about here with 30? We're talking about hours worked, and we're talking about pay rate. So I have labels that describe text that describes the data and the data that we're going to process. One of the things you'll see here is that hours worked was too wide for this column, so you can grab the bar to the right of a given column. For column C, I can grab the bar to the right and I can drag it and resize it. There's also an auto size option. I can right click and say auto size in the pop-up window, or I can just double click the bar to the right of C and it'll automatically resize column C so that the longest piece of data in that column is visible. Now in this case I only had two pieces of data and they're clearly visible, but if I had 500 or 5,000 pieces of data in column C, the auto size would fit the largest of all that data, not just what's visible on my screen at that moment. So data and labels to describe data, two of the three things that Excel can do. So far, neither of those are so impressive that Excel is the standard tool for storing and working with data in industry. It's the most commonly used tool. It's because of the third thing that we can place inside of a cell that Excel can do that makes it so widely used as a tool. And of course, that third thing you probably already know is formulas and functions, things that do the math for you, that do the calculations for you. And to indicate to Excel that you want it to do a formula or function, that you want it to do the math for you, you begin with an equal sign. Typing an equal sign is like saying, hey, Excel, I want you to do some work here. It gets Excel's attention, tells Excel that this cell is going to be a calculated cell. There's going to be a formula or a function. Now, a formula is something like the contents of this cell, D5, and I can type D5 here, or I can click on cell D5 and Excel will type the column and row for me, times this cell D6, which I can type or click on it. That is a formula. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, the basic stuff we do when we think about formulas, equals, you type your own formula. If I want to do a function, there's pre-built functions in Excel. Type equals, and then I could type one of the functions here. So in the Home tab, in the Editing group, some functions are here. Some of the common functions: sum, average, count, min, and max. And there's some more functions. If I happen to click more functions here, I can see some of those additional functions. So here's my most recently used functions. Here's all the functions, all just the financial, date and time, trigonometry, statistical, database, right? If I go under all, I get to see all the functions that Excel knows about. And you would type equals and then the name of the function, ABS, equals, and then ACCRINT, which returns the accrued interest for a security that pays periodic interest. Of course, because I knew that, not really, and you knew that, maybe not, but Excel knew it. In fact, Excel knows every formula that's printed in every college textbook. And that may not be completely true, but it's pretty close to true. I've never seen a formula printed in a college textbook that Excel didn't know, but I've never seen every college textbook printed. But more than likely, if you have a textbook that has a formula in the textbook, Excel has that formula built in. If we just scroll down through these are just the A's and the B's and the C's, and it turns out there's quite a lot of these formulas, most of which you'll never use. But the formula you need, it probably has it, and you can use that formula. Okay, so formulas and functions are calculated values. Now, I don't really need Excel to tell me that $30 an hour or 30 hours at $10 an hour is $300. But if this had been $32, then it recalculates the values automatically for me. And if I've been paid $11.75 an hour, I wouldn't be able to, in my head, come up with that answer 376 as easily. In fact, I do trust Excel's answer to 32 times 11.75 more than I trust my answer. The things that machines and technology are good at doing, we should let them do. The things that humans are good at doing that machines and technology can't do are the things that make us most human, and we should respect those things as human beings, respecting ourselves and respecting the person across from us. Let technology do what technology does well. Know how to use technology correctly and effectively. And also respect yourself and the person across from you as a human being that's more complex than just a machine. So a cell has formulas, functions, has data, descriptive labels to describe the data, and then calculated values, formulas, and functions. Now you can do a lot of formatting here. I can say this is a numeric format and come under the home tab, and in the numbers group make that a numeric a $ value, make that a $ value, right? We can change font name and font type and the font color and the background color and all those things that look kind of flashy, but don't be distracted by the formatting. It's data, descriptive labels, and then calculated values, formulas, and functions that do the math for you and get updated automatically. Okay, so let's practice some more with Excel here. I'm going to close this one up. I'm not going to save this. As your assignment, you have this hands-on activities and Excel skills review, and there's a file there that you can download in Blackboard, your name 517 Excel skills review. Go ahead and download that file, put your name in place of your name, so Alex Smith, or in the case of the demonstration I'm doing here, Bill Gates. Not really Bill Gates, but we'll use that name for our video here. And then work through this hands-on activity as your hands-on activity number 1. So there's a number of tabs across the bottom. There's t-shirt sales, payroll, M&Ms, lottery winner, which is intentionally blank, and an optional one for gradebook. And the document describes each of these, and in the video I'll work through each of these with us. So t-shirt sales. Let me see, look at the document real quick. Make the following edits, right? Calculate the totals in column H, so I can see there's some values here in column H which are totals. Calculate the totals in row 9, so daily totals in row 9. Get the weekly total in H10, so there's a total there in H10, the weekly total. Calculate the percentages in column I, so I've got the percentages of the t-shirts, extra small to extra large there in column I, and create a bar chart and a pie chart. So let's do that in the just real quickly here. The formatting doesn't matter. It does make it easy to see, but what I really have is I have some data, I have some descriptive text, and I'm going to type some formulas and functions here. So if I want to add these values, I could do it in my head, and I could come up with a number that might or might not be right. Or I could let Excel do it, and I know the answer will be right if I put the right formula or function into Excel. So I'm going to say equals, hey, Excel, do some calculations for me. And what I want Excel to do in this case is calculate the sum. So the name of the function is sum, and then it tells us in the pop-up help here what goes after the parentheses. So it looks for a number, comma, and then the square brackets mean you have the option of putting additional numbers there. So I could put a single cell in here, or I could put a range of cells in here, B4 to G4. Now I got those by pressing, I'm going to escape here and do that again, equals sum left parenthesis. So once I hit the left parenthesis, I'm ready to enter the arguments for this function. And what I'm doing is I'm moving the cursor over B4 and I'm pressing and holding the mouse. So the mouse is still held down. And I can drag. So I can drag down, or I can drag over, or I can drag a range from this upper left-hand corner to some lower right-hand corner. That's a range of cells. And then when I let go, I can now move the mouse and the range doesn't move. A range is represented the upper left cell colon the lower right cell and all the cells between them. So B4 to G4 are going to be summed. Now I could hit right parenthesis and press enter, or if I just press enter by itself, Excel is smart enough to add the right parenthesis to close the argument list for me. So 399 is the sum of those values. Now I want to do the same thing here and here and here. And one of the ways to do this most easily with Excel is for my cell H4 here that has my calculated value, right? And this shows me this is the cell that's highlighted, and this is the contents of the cell, not the calculated result, but the actual contents equals sum B4 to G4. For this cell H4, in the lower right hand corner of a cell, there is a thing called the fill handle, F-I-L-L, not fill from accounting, but fill as in empty to full. And if I grab the fill handle and drag it down, it copies that formula across for small, medium, large, and extra large t-shirt sizes. So the sum of 86 and 83 and 90, 87, 86, and 78 is 510. I'm going to do the same thing for my daily totals. So the totals for all the Mondays, sum, left parenthesis, I'm going to click, hold, drag, release. Oops. Click, hold, drag, and then release. So it's B4 to B8. I could put the right parenthesis in myself, or I could just press enter without doing it. It'll put the right parenthesis in for me. 437. That is the sum, B4 to B8. With that cell selected, and grab the fill, F-I-L-L, copy that across Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it does all those calculations for me. Click on the white space to deselect everything, then double click on one of the formulas to visually confirm that it's doing what I want it to do. I can see that it's the sum, and I can see it's highlighted in blue there. Yeah, I want to be summing up in that cell, F9, I want to be summing up the stuff right above it. That visually makes sense. That visually makes sense. Double click, that visually makes sense, right? Hit escape or click on a white space anywhere in the worksheet to get yourself back to a neutral point, and you can double click on a cell to see what's in that cell. What else do we want to do? Well, we want to get the value here. This little guy, this pop-up is saying, hey, do you want to, you can generally ignore this. And I'm surprised it's not going away. There it goes away. As soon as I hit space, go out to the white space anywhere and hit space, enter, just to enter nothing in that cell, that little hint goes away. That hint was saying, do you want to do something special with that fill? And I don't. Whenever that pops up, if you don't know it's going to be there, don't expect it to be there, you probably can just ignore that. Here I want to do the sum of everything in yellow. So I could do the sum of everything in yellow, and I will get an answer 2633. I would get the same answer if I did the sum of the totals for the shirt sizes, 2633, and if I did the sum of the day totals, 2633. So there's multiple ways to get the same right answer. Now I don't like that this is black font on a dark red background. So even though formatting is more fluff than substance, it is simple to do the formatting here. For this cell that I have selected, I'm going to go into Home tab, the font group, and I'm going to change the font color from, right now it's at automatic black, and I'm going to change it to be white so that the white looks better on that dark background. Okay, what about our percentages? Well, at this point, we think we know what we're doing here. I want to do percentage. Percentage is the part divided by the whole. So if I want to know what 399 is out of the whole of 2633, right, what percentage is extra small shirts from the daily total? I would say the part divided by the whole. And that gives me a percentage in decimal form by default. I can click on that, go in the Home tab, the numbers group, and make that a percentage. I can increase or decrease the number of decimal places that I want to have in this for formatting. Formatting is more fluff than substance, but it still can make it look good. And we know what to do next, right? We'll get the fill handle, we'll grab the lower right-hand corner, and we'll drag it down, only it doesn't work. Womp, womp, womp. So, why did this not work? Many people who use Excel on a regular basis struggle with the reason this cell didn't work. This is probably the most common mistake that even experienced users of Excel misunderstand. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to click the undo up here. All right, so I'm taking that formula that I just calculated out. And the reason this formula doesn't copy down well is because when you copy down, the cells move down with you in the formula. When you copy to the right, the cells move with you to the right. So when I copy down, H4 is going to become H5, which I want it to because I want to do 537 divided by the whole. And then when I copy down again, 537 is going to become 584 because I want to know 584 as part of the whole, right? Row 4, row 5, row 6, the row values are going to change 4, 5, 6, 7 as I copy down from rows 4, 5, 6, and 7. This value, the total, is in cell H10. As I copy the formula down, H10 becomes H11, H12, H13. I don't have any data here in H11, H12, H13. So that doesn't make any, so there's nothing useful there. This H10, I want to stay fixed. It's what we call an absolute reference. And the way we make this an absolute reference is we put a $ in front of the row and the column to make them stay, like putting staples. If you can imagine having a stapler and stapling the row and the column, it'll stay fixed. Now I can manually type in the $, or I can use on my keyboard the F4 key. So when the cursor is touching H10, I can touch it at the beginning, the end, or the middle, anywhere. When I'm touching H10, if I hit the F4 key, it will put the $ in for me. Actually, if I hit the H4 key, it toggles through 4 different ways of doing this. So that's an absolute reference. That's a mixed reference where the row stays fixed, but the column will change. Column stays fixed, but the row changes. And then the default, which is a relative reference, rows and columns move down and across as you copy. So $H, $10 is an absolute reference. And what that means is as I copy this formula down, now when I do fill handle, it works correctly because the H4 became H5, H6, H7, but H10 stayed fixed. So when do you want to use an absolute reference? You only need an absolute reference if you're going to copy a formula. It doesn't make any sense to have an absolute reference if you're not copying a formula. And you only need an absolute reference if you're copying a formula where one of the cells in the formula is a fixed cell. It doesn't move, the data doesn't move down or across relative to that fixed cell. So there's only one total here. There's multiple daily totals, so they are relative references that move. There's one absolute reference. Okay. So Excel is a wonderful tool. You can put data in it. You can use labels to describe the data so that you know what's going on. You can format those labels so that it looks very nice. Oh, that looks very nice. I like the t-shirt cells. I like the colors. It's easy to read. And you can do formulas and functions to do the math for you. So if I change one of these values, if this 62 changes, all those values will update automatically. Now, before I show you that, let me tell you the other main reason is, as powerful as this is, doing all the math for you, which is enough. The other thing that Excel does that makes it such a killer app, the reason that everybody uses spreadsheets. They may not use Microsoft's spreadsheet with Office, but everybody uses spreadsheets to store data in business. It's the dominant tool used to store data in business, is because of the ability to create charts and graphs. So with Excel, if I highlight some data, so for example, I'm going to highlight the t-shirt, the daily numbers here in yellow, and I'm going to also highlight the entire range that includes the labels for this data, so the days across the top and the shirt size across the bottom. So with that block highlighted, if I go under Insert and I select Recommended Charts, it pulls up the chart that it thinks I might want to use. Now this is based on data analysis, on what people have done in the past when they've selected this kind of data with descriptive label columns on the left and above it, and then the actual data between those two columns. So a line chart, which is good for graphing data over time, a side-by-side bar chart, which is good for doing the comparisons. I want to do this bar chart here. I have more chart options. If what I want isn't here, I can go under the all charts and I can see all the different chart types that exist for me. And even in the columns, we're just doing the clustered column. There's stacked column and multiple other column option types for this data. So lots of data options here. And this visual is easy to edit. So I can just double click the chart title here and call this T-shirt sales weekly, 1 week. You can, when the chart is selected in the ribbon across the top, a new thing gets added when the chart is selected called the chart design. And from the chart design tab, there is chart styles and some pre-built style formats that I can just hover over and decide if I like any of those. There is a drop-down arrow to the bottom right of that lets me see some even more pre-built styles if there's one that I like in particular. If I want to have even more control over this, I can go under the quick layout. Here's some other styles of charts and add chart elements. I can individually specify the axis titles, chart title. Do I want the chart title to be above? Do I want it to be overlaid? Do I want it to be gone? My data labels. Do I want data labels on the outside, on the inside base, inside end, in the center, right? So all of these, do I want the legend at the top? Do I want the legend at the left? Do I want the legend at the bottom? So all these options are, I think it was at the bottom, are available to us here in the chart design. We have a great deal of control over this chart in our in Excel. So, wow, that's a nice visual that comes from my data that I was able to make quickly and easily. In fact, if I right-click on this and copy this chart, I can paste it into Word. I'm going to pull up Word here, a blank Word file, and I'm going to do paste, Control-V, shortcut, keyboard shortcut for paste, and there's my T-shirt sales chart in Microsoft Word. So this can be part of a report that I'm creating. This can be part of a PowerPoint presentation. I can paste it into a PowerPoint slide as well. And Excel, one of the things that we love about Excel is that it is dynamic. So if I change one of these values to 1,000, not only does my totals change here and my percentages change and my weekly total change, but my chart changes. Okay? So the charts are dynamic as well. They are reflecting the real-time current status of the data. Now, what about the chart that I just copied into Word a second ago? Do you think that that chart in Word looks like this with a really big 1,000? Or do you think it looks like the chart as it was at the time we copied it into Excel? Copied it into Word from Excel? The answer is it changed. Right? So when you copy a chart into a presentation, into a document or a presentation, one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure that you're copying it the way you want to copy it. Going back to Excel, I'm going to undo the change of 1,000. So everything's back to the way it was. Back to Word, everything's back to the way it was. Now I'm going to select this chart. I'm going to copy it, Control Copy, Control C Copy. I'm going to go back to Word. I'm going to come down here into Word and I'm going to paste it. But in my paste, instead of doing the default Control V, I'm going to click the down arrow in the paste options, and I'm going to see that there's some different pasting options, and the last one is to paste as a picture. So the last pasting option is paste as a picture. I'm going to select that. You'll notice that the colors are a little different here. The colors, when I paste it as picture, are the actual colors in Excel. So here I'm in Excel, the actual colors here. The colors on the first paste are the colors determined by the color of this document. All right, so I can the color scheme here. So if we change the color scheme here, gosh, where's the color scheme at? Don't change it very often. Oh, was it? I was in the right place first. I clicked on the right place. My intuition was right with design, but I clicked on the wrong one. So the themes. Here in the design tab, there is themes. And if you change the themes, the way the chart displays in Word is changing, but it's not changing in the picture that you copied and pasted. Right? So if you have a theme in your document, the one paste will reflect that theme. If you paste it as a picture, you'll get the colors from the Excel theme that you format it to look like. And even more importantly here, if I go back to Excel and I now change this to 1000 again, so the chart changes to 1000 again. Back here in Word, what do you think happened? Is that what you were expecting? When you paste it without pasting a picture, it's dynamic and linked to the file. When you paste it as an image, you don't need the file anymore. Any changes to the file don't affect it. So you can use your charts from Excel in your presentations, your Word documents, your PowerPoint presentations, and you probably want to paste as image when you do that. If I want to make another chart here, I'm going to make one more chart. I want to get these percentages. And for percentages, I want to do a pie chart. So for a pie chart, the way we highlight a pie chart is I would like to have these values and I'd like to have these labels. Well, I can't select both of them at the same time without doing a little extra step here, which is a multi-select. So I'm going to select the labels, and then I'm going to press and hold the Control key and select the data as well. So I have a non-contiguous multi-select. Right? This data is selected, and this data is selected. You can do the same thing in Word. You can select a paragraph, hold down the Control key, and then select a second paragraph that's not touching, not contiguous with the first paragraph, but they can both be selected at the same time. So if you change the font size, font color, it'll apply to both of those non-contiguous paragraphs at the same time. You can do a multi-select in PowerPoint as well. So with the data, the labels and the data selected, I go under Insert, Recommended Charts, and notice that I get different chart options in this case because Excel recognizes that when people have some labels here and some data in this kind of a format, these are the things they most often do. And this pie chart works. If I want to go under All Charts, I can find that there's other charts. I might want to do a 3D pie chart, or some of the other guys might want to do a donut chart. But I'll do the basic pie chart here. And again, when the chart is selected, I have the handles let me know the chart is selected. There are some built-in default chart styles that I might like and might want to use. I can also come under here under Quick Layout and look at some other common chart styles that people might like. And chart elements, I can manually change my chart to be what I want it to be. Find one that I kind of like there. I guess this one's okay. And this one has the 1000 value there. If this was 100 instead of 1000, everything changes relative as we go. Okay, so that was a lot of talking, and hopefully most of what I said was review for you, but maybe some of what I said was new information. But it does really highlight the basic reason why Excel is so used in industry for storing and working with data. It does the math for us, and it does visualizations for us. Nice visualizations that we have control over and that we can use in presentations. Okay, part 2 of this homework, this hands-on activity, is to go to the Payroll tab, and you're to make the following edits to the Payroll tab. Right? Using an absolute reference as necessary, you're going to calculate the gross pay, the federal tax, state tax, local tax, FICA, and net pay. And here's the values for that. So let's go back to our spreadsheet. So here's the t-shirt sales, here's the Payroll tab at the bottom, and this sheet is built for us. We've got 12 employees here, the hours worked by each employee, the pay rate for each employee, and the space for the formula is to calculate gross pay, federal, state, local, FICA, and net pay. Here's the percentage rates that we're going to use for federal tax, state tax, local tax, FICA tax. So let's do this, and I'm going to do this one much faster. Equals, hey, Excel, do the work. I'm typing an equal sign to let Excel know that I want it to calculate this value times this value. So $300, that's the pay. I'm going to copy this all the way down because 50 times 10 is $500. Now, I'm not calculating overtime pay, and for our purposes, that's okay. I can use an if statement if I want to in here and make this more complicated to handle overtime pay, but I'm not doing that at this point. I'm just this is more just a review of the basics of this. But there's a part of me that doesn't like that we're not getting overtime pay. I admit that I could do this better. I could have an if function for an overtime pay, but I'm not doing that, acknowledging that there's a way to do that better. The federal tax is the gross pay. It's 22% of the gross pay, right? It's this percentage of the gross pay. So, hey, Excel, do the work. So I'll type an equal sign to get Excel to say this amount times that percent. So $66 is 22% of 30. Now I'm going to want to grab this fill handle and copy it down. Before I copy this down, I feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up and saying, whoa, 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 wait a second. My formula includes this cell F4, right, which has 22% in it. And as I copy down, I want 300 to become 500 to become 264 to become 197, but I don't want 22% to move. It's kind of fixed right there in F4. So before I even copy this formula down, I'm going to make that cell an absolute reference cell by pressing the F4 key. Now it just happens that the F4 key and cell F4 are the same. That is just a circumstance. F4 key is always the key for the absolute reference. It's rare that the cell you're doing is F4 in this case. So now, same result, so it's still $66, but because that's an absolute reference to F4, when I copy it down, the row 6, 7, 8, the row changes, but the row does not change for column 4 there, for row 4. It stays row 4. Same thing here, equals gross pay times the federal tax, and same thing, that G4 is going to be a fixed formula, a fixed cell reference. As I copy this down, I don't want G4 to change, so I'm going to type G4 in there with an absolute reference, and then I can copy that down. Do the same thing for local tax, the gross pay times a tax rate, which is a absolute fixed cell reference. There's only one tax rate that applies to all 10 or all 12 of these people. So I type the formula in correctly, and I copy it down, and it works correctly for all these people. Right. There, Gary's gross pay times the fixed rate, and one more, FICA is the gross pay times that rate. That's an absolute reference, F4 key, before I copy it down. So my net pay now is the gross pay minus federal, minus state, minus local, minus FICA. There's more than one way to type this in correctly. Hey, Excel, do the work. I want Excel to do the math, so I'm going to do a formula or function. In this case, I'm going to do a formula. It's not a pre-built function in my list that says gross pay minus federal, minus state, minus local, minus FICA. I doubt that that's one of the formulas there. This is one that's easier for me to just do on my own. It's this minus. Now, I could do each of those cells independently, or I could say minus the sum of the range of those cells. Either way, I'll get the same result. I do not need any absolute references here because as I copy down, I want everything that's highlighted to copy down with me. I want the blue to copy down. I want the red to copy down. So no need for an absolute reference there, and I get all my values. Okay. See how easy that was and quick that was to use Excel and to know that our math is correct. And it's not only faster than if I did it myself by hand, it's better than if I did it myself by hand. Because if I did the math, or if you did the math with a calculator, doing it by hand on pencil paper, we would make a mistake more than likely at some point. Excel does not make the mistake. If we get the formulas incorrect and the data incorrect, then Excel will do the math correct. The M&Ms tab, make the following edits to the M&Ms tab. in row 20, so we've got the weights of these M&Ms. Somebody opened up a bag of M&Ms and had a very accurate scale that got to the thousandth of an ounce, some science scale, and weighed all the M&Ms in a bag, each one individually, recorded it in a spreadsheet, right? This guy, this person, this girl, a lot of fun at a party on Friday nights, without a doubt, right? The kind of person that enjoys measuring and recording weights of M&Ms is the person you want to be with on a Friday night. Actually, I probably would like to be with that person. Would be a very interesting person to have a conversation with. So for this activity, I want to count up how many M&Ms there were of each of these colors. And what else did it say? In row 20, use the count function to count the number of M&Ms for each of the colors. Create a pie chart showing the count of M&Ms for each color, and change the color of the slice of the pie chart to match the color of the M&Ms. So that red slice for red and orange slice for orange, right? Okay, well, let's do that. So in row 20, I want to use the count function to count up all this data. Now I could just highlight the data here, but I know I'm going to copy this across to orange and yellow and brown and green and blue. So I'm going to copy the data all the way down to row 19. It's blocking it there, but I can see that formula goes down A4 to A19, and I'm in row 20. And it knows, the count function knows to not count blank cells. It's just counting cells with data, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it counted 9. So it counted the 9 cells that had data, and it ignored the ones that are blank, even though the count function highlighted those cells. Now when I copy this across, I'm including the white space here, and I'm only counting the cells that have data. So I know that there's 13 yellows and 15 browns. I then want to create a pie chart. So to create a pie chart, I'm going to select the labels and the data. I'm going to use a multi-select. So I'm going to hold the control key down when I select the, oops. Now, right there, I selected just that cell 9. I don't want to, I need to start over at that point. Select this and then select all of those. I want to do it in 2 clean swipes. If I don't do it in 2 clean swipes, something weird will happen in my chart. Just delete the chart and start over. With the multi-select of non-contiguous data, go under Insert, Recommended Charts, and get one of the pie chart options. Or I could do Insert under the pie chart options. I can see my charts this way. I'm going to do this 3D pie chart. On our 3D pie chart, it's really nice. If I select the pie chart once, the entire chart gets selected. You can see the fill handles go all the way around everything. If I pull out just one, if I click a slice, a second click to get just a slice, now I have just the green slice highlighted, and I can pull it out or explode a part of my pie if I want to. So there's a lot of nice editing. You have a lot of control over the charts and how the chart looks. M&M count for a bag of M&Ms, and the last thing we want to do is we want to change the labels here. Notice that blue, the legend is using blue for red, it's using something else for orange, and that for yellow. So I want to change this. I'm going to move this label, just to show you how to do this. I'm going to move this legend to the right, just by going under Add Chart Elements, Legend, and saying I don't want it, or I want it to appear on the right. And to change these legends, I'll just select a pie slice, right-click, and change the font color. So again, click often white space here to get me to a neutral point. Click once, and I have the whole pie selected. And then the second click gives me just a single slice. You can see that the handles are just on this blue. So now with the handles just on blue, right click, change the fill color. This is red, so I'm going to use red, right? So now my legend for red matches. And here, select once, I get the whole pie. Select the second time, a single slice. This is the orange, so I'm going to right-click Fill and choose an orange color. And this one's yellow. I can have just yellow selected. I can see the handles are just that one, and I'm going to select yellow. Brown, just brown is selected. Right-click Fill, choose a brown color. Blue, there we go. Blue is selected. Right-click Fill, blue. And what's my last one? Green. Right-click Fill, green. Okay. So now my legend matches the colors of the M&Ms, and my pie slice is showing me the breakdown of the colors of the M&Ms in my bag in a visually pleasing way. The fourth part of your hands-on is this problem, winning lottery. Imagine you just won the lottery. Hey, congratulations. And you are given 3 choices on how your winning ticket will be paid over the next 30 days. Payment option 1. In this option, you receive $10 million on day 1. You get no more payments, but you get $10 million. All right. So that's worst case. Can we do better? I don't know. Let's see what our other options are. Payment option number 2. In this option, you get 30 daily payments with bigger payments each day. Okay. Your day 1 payment is $10,000, and each following day's payment is $10,000 more than the previous day. So you'll get $20,000 paid to you on day 2 and $30,000 paid to you in day 3, and all those payments are adding up. Right? So you get to deposit those. You get to make 30 deposits, and you deposit $10,000 day 1, $20,000 day 2, $30,000 day 3, $40,000 day 4. You get to do that for 30 days. So that's an option. Is that better than payment option 1, $10 million? I'm not sure, but it's an option. And payment option 3, in this option, you get 30 daily payments with each day's payment bigger than the day before. Your day 1 payment is $1. Each following day's payment is double the previous day's payment. So again, you get 30 payments. You get 30 checks written to you, and you get to deposit 30 different checks. The first check, the first payment is for $1. The second check is double that, $2. And the third check is double that, $4. And then the check after that's $8. So you get to deposit that money into your bank over 30 days. Which payment option will give you the highest running total after 30 days? So for this problem, I want you to start with a blank sheet because the lottery sheet in your start file is intentionally left blank. So start with this blank sheet and create something that kind of looks like figure 1 here. Right. So we're going to have in column A, day 1, day 2, day 3 through day 30. The figure 1 only shows the first 10 days so that you can kind of check your work for 10 days, but you're going to do this for 30 days. In columns C and D, we're going to do the option 1 effect, right? How much money did you get paid on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 for option 1? We only get 1 check for option 1. You get $10 million right off the bat day 1, and then nothing else. So column C is pretty easy. You only get 1 check to you, $10 million. And option D, the running total, is pretty easy because, it doesn't change. You get $10 million on day 1, it doesn't change. But option 2 and option 3 are a little more complicated and harder to do in your mind. It'd be nice to have Excel do the work for you, do the math, the calculations for you. In option 2, day 1, column F here, you get paid $10,000, and you put that into your bank, you've got $10,000. Okay. On day 2, you double your previous day's payment, so that's $20,000. You put that into the bank, you already had $10,000, you add $20,000 to it, your running total, what's in the bank after you deposit day 2 check, you now have $30,000. Day 3 is $10,000 more than day 2, so that's now $30,000. You add $30,000 to what's already in the bank, and you end up with $60,000. $40,000, $10,000 more, add it to the bank, $100,000, and so on. Columns I and J are the third option, where you start with $1 as your first payment, and you put that dollar into the bank, and then they double it. You get $2 the next day. They put that into the bank. Now you've got $3 in the bank, and then you double that again. You got $4 as your third payment. Put that into the bank. You've got $7. Double again, $8. Now you've got $15 in the bank, and so on. So your first 10 days, you should have $10 million in column D, $550,000 in column G, and $1,023 in column J. You want to do this all the way down through day 30 and determine which of these plans is going to give you the most money when it's all said and done. After your 30-day analysis is complete, go down to cell A35 below the 30th day and enter your answer, option 1, option 2, option 3, that pays the highest total. So that is your activity for this worksheet. It's intentionally left blank. You're going to build this one from scratch to answer the question, which of those 3 lottery payment options is going to give you the most money. And here's an optional tab, the gradebook, that you do not have to do, but if you choose to do the optional, it's a +1 bonus. Not enough to affect your grade in the class probably, but it's a chance to kind of show off your skills and to let me know that, well, just to show off your skills, right? To practice your skills, to push yourself a little bit. If you're familiar with Excel, if you're more familiar with Excel, this is a chance for you to show it off a little bit. If what we've already done is enough that your cup runneth over, then by all means you can ignore this +1 bonus. But this is based on the way I calculated my grades in my 141 computer literacy class for freshmen. We had a grade book that broke down like this, but we had these 2 student benefits where I did a drop and replace of their lowest unit exam score and a drop and replace of their lowest quiz score. And I used Excel to do that math for me, so I didn't have to do the math. So you can read through this, and it explains how to do the calculations for the gradebook as an optional activity. Okay, so that is our hands-on activity 1 Excel skills review.